Lando Norris is the reigning world champion, but George Russell just called the competition spectacular, which is an admission that they might be in trouble. The threat doesn't come from Ferrari or Mercedes, but from the green machine. Adrian Newey just revealed in Saudi Arabia. It is February 11th, 2026. The start of testing confirmed by Formula One, and the Bahrain paddock is absolute chaos. Just 48 hours ago, as reported by Planet F1, Aston Martin pulled the covers off the AMR26, and the silence was deafening. We knew Adrian Newey joined the team last March and was working on the 2026 regulations, but nobody expected this. While Mercedes and McLaren unveiled their own new challengers, Newey has built something alien. The car doesn't look real, featuring side pods that shouldn't physically work, and a rear suspension setup that has rival engineers taking photos like tourists. George Russell, who the race notes called the AMR26 spectacular, used driver code for "we might be in trouble." This is the first car fully designed under Newey's leadership since he left Red Bull. Despite reports from TSN where he claims the team is 4 months behind on development, the on-track reality tells a very different story. The 2026 regulations were supposed to level the playing field, with active aerodynamics and simplified engines, but instead, it looks like they just gave the greatest designer in history a blank canvas. Everyone is staring at the back of this car, because the AMR26 features a rear suspension geometry that we have never seen before. Most teams, including the new Ferrari, went with a standard pushrod configuration to handle the new active Aero loads. But Newey went the other way. He has mounted the pickup points so high that the wishbones effectively act as a secondary wing structure. It looks alien. Aston Martin F1 confirmed the car hit the track for a shakedown, where the rear end didn't squat under acceleration and just stayed perfectly flat. This matters because the 2026 cars rely entirely on maintaining a stable platform for the new Z-mode cornering downforce. If Newey has figured out how to mechanically lock the ride height without active suspension, he hasn't just built a fast car, he has broken the rules without breaking a single regulation. Under that shrink-wrapped bodywork sits the other half of the nightmare for Mercedes, the Honda RA626H power unit. Since this is now the Honda Works team and they aren't a customer anymore, Newey could tell Honda exactly where to put every pipe, wire, and cooling duct. The result is an engine cover that is impossibly tight, allowing you to practically count the cylinders through the carbon fiber. Rumors from the Japanese manufacturer suggest this new 50-50 electric combustion split engine is already hitting efficiency numbers that weren't expected until 2027. While Audi and Ford are still learning the ropes of the new regulations, Honda has spent 3 years building a power unit specifically for this chassis. It sounds different too, as the trackside audio from Bahrain captures a crisp, aggressive downshift note that suggests they are running a very different engine mapping than the competition. If you want to stay ahead of the grid with breaking F1 updates like this, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we are tracking every lap of testing live. We will now return to the active Aero controversy. The panic truly sets in for Lando Norris regarding the 2026 rules, which introduced X mode for straights and Z mode for corners. It is supposed to be a simple on-off switch regulated by the FIA, but the onboard footage from Alonso's first run shows something different. The front wing flaps on the Aston Martin don't just snap open and shut, but seem to flutter slightly during the transition phase. Rival teams believe Newey has found a gray area in the activation software. By pulsing the flaps, he might be generating a specific vortex that seals the floor edges right as the car brakes for a corner. If this is true, the AMR26 will carry significantly more speed into the braking zones than anyone else. It is the kind of genius loophole that wins championships before the first light goes out. Adrian Newey keeps telling the press, as quoted by Crash, that they are on the back foot, And Grand Prix 24/7 reports his claim that the team started wind tunnel work 4 months later than everyone else due to his contract timing. Do not believe a word of it. Newey admitted earlier this week that the philosophy for this car came to him during his gardening leave in 2024. He spent 6 months sitting at home, sketching, thinking, and simulating this car in his head without a single distraction. That isn't lost time. That is focused design time. While other teams were distracted by the 2025 title fight between Norris and Verstappen, Newey was mentally building the AMR26. The car we see in Bahrain is a polished diamond, rather than a rushed prototype. The fit and finish are perfect, with no duct tape on this machine, which is not the sign of a team rushing to catch up. George Russell knows exactly what he is looking at. The Mercedes driver has been walking tall all winter, confident that the silver arrows nailed the 2026 engine regulations. But his body language changed the moment the Aston rolled out. He was spotted in the pit lane staring at the Aston's rear suspension for 5 straight minutes. Russell knows that a fast engine means nothing if the car produces too much drag. The Mercedes W17 looks bulky compared to the Aston. If the Honda engine is even close to the Mercedes in power, the aerodynamic efficiency of the AMR26 will slaughter them on the straights. Russell's comment that the car looks spectacular was an admission of fear, as he has driven against Newey cars long enough to know when he has been outsmarted. Then there is Lando Norris. The Brit is wearing the number 1 on his car for the first time, but his title defense just got infinitely harder. McLaren faced the same revolution as everyone else, forced to redesign their car from the ground up, which was a safe choice. However, safe choices don't beat Adrian Newey. Norris was overheard joking that Russell was giddy about the season, but the laughter stopped when the timesheets lit up. In the very first session, Lance Stroll posted a purple sector 1 time on hard tires, while McLaren was on softs. That single data point sent a shockwave through the paddock. If the Aston is matching the world champion's pace on slower tires, during a shakedown run with Stroll at the wheel, the gap might already be massive. Norris fought Max Verstappen to the bitter end last year, but he might spend this year chasing Fernando Alonso's gearbox. We cannot ignore who is sitting in the cockpit. Fernando Alonso has waited 20 years for a car like this. He is 44 years old, but he is driving with the hunger of a rookie. You could see it in his eyes during the press conference that he knows this is the one. Newey didn't just build this car for anyone. He built it for a driver who can handle a loose rear end and capitalize on every millimeter of track width. Lance Stroll is there too, but make no mistake, this weapon is sharpened for Alonso. The combination of the most experienced driver in history and the greatest designer in history is a fairy tale for fans. But it is a horror story for the rest of the grid. There is one final detail regarding the rear suspension geometry that nobody is talking about yet. The 2026 regulations banned the beam wing to reduce dirty air, yet the AMR26 features a suspension setup that looks suspiciously effective. By angling the exhaust outlet directly between the wishbones, Newey might be using the high-energy exhaust gases to energize the airflow over the diffuser. It is a blown diffuser concept, reimagined for the modern era. The FIA has already had inspectors looking at it, but so far, no flags have been thrown. If this is legal, Aston Martin has found free downforce that costs them 0 drag, which is the holy grail of aerodynamics. This means the hierarchy we expected for the season ahead has been shredded. We thought 2026 would be a battle of the engines, with Mercedes leading the charge, while newcomers like Audi faced a steep learning curve. But instead, it looks like aerodynamics are king once again. If the AMR26 is as fast as it looks, we are not looking at a close fight, but rather the start of a new dynasty. The terrifying part for the competition isn't even the speed, but the reliability. The car ran 60 laps on day 1 without a hiccup, which just doesn't happen with brand new regulations. It suggests that while other teams were struggling to pass crash tests, Aston Martin was already refining their setup. For the viewers, get ready, because the green car isn't just a midfielder anymore. It is the villain of the story, and it is coming for everyone.
Bahrain has exposed the truth that every team principal feared. Adrian Newey hasn't lost his touch, he just changed his colors. The season hasn't even started, but the panic is real. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the AMR26, hit that subscribe button for more F1 analysis.